exercise can actually boost your brain's immune system. Yes. So our brain has an immune system that gets rid of toxic materials and poisons and stuff like that. Exercise works as a fertilizer. So exercise increases the type of chemicals that helps your brain not only grow in number of cells, but actually increase number of connections between brain cells. And yes, exercise can grow new brain cells at any age. When you start doing physical activity, when you go from sedentary to an exercise person, the person who benefits the most is in early on. So like when you go from not doing much to doing little, your gain is a lot more. Like you reach at a point that if you do more and more activity, your gains get less and less and less. But most of us are not reaching that point. Most of us not working out more than 3 hours or 2 to 3 hours a day. So we don't have to worry about loss of gain. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our session on exercise for our Alzheimer's prevention program. This video is made for our current participants. Portions of it may be available other places as well. So we have been through other sessions such as nutrition, and you may have been through other sessions as well. But these are some good resources. My website should have lots of good free material. We also have a YouTube channel and other social media channels. So check them out. How do you get most out of this session, right? So I believe in a reverse classroom. It means that you study all these things for the whole month. And when you come to for the group session, you are asking more questions and going into details and how you can actually implement in your life rather than learning for the first time. So you should have access to the app. We should have all my videos as well as the curated videos. You should have these slide sets and stuff like that. If you had done all the tasks that came throughout this month, you would have gotten almost all the information that you will learn in this session today. You also want to make sure that you're using right measuring tools, right? For example, having a smartwatch that can track your exercise. Even our EverFit app, if you're doing exercises that is not trackable by smartwatch, you can log them in. You don't have to do it, but it kind of helps for you to do some kind of introspection. I do recommend using a CGM, like continuous glucose monitor, like a Freestyle Libre, something like this that can help you monitor how your sugar is doing and stuff like that. For cognitive training, it is a good idea to use brainhq.com around 20 to 30 minutes a day, 4 to 5 days a week. And I hope you have come up with your why, and you're looking at your why at least once a day, like why you are in this program and why you want to do this. Periodically, you are getting questionnaires from this app. So I hope you're filling out those questionnaires. I hope you're writing your gratitude journal and stuff like that. If you have a strong enough why, you'll figure out how to do certain things. So as you know, in a program, I tell my patients to come up with why they want to prevent dementia, why they want to stay healthy. And it's not just to avoid frailty or avoid nursing home. It should be bigger than that. It should be that I want to spend time, quality time with my friends and family and grandchildren and things like that, rather than visiting doctors or going to a nursing home or something like that. Once you write down your why on a piece of paper, I want you to use the magnet that you got from us, this brain magnet. Put it on your refrigerator. So you at least look at it once a day and read this sentence. I will beat Alzheimer's disease, and my weapon today was this. So you want to have a weapon every single day. You have to do at least one thing that you can think about that you're doing to prevent dementia. It can be the same thing over and over again, but at least you have to think about it at least once a day, because 45% of dementias are preventable. I'm a strong believer in lifestyle interventions. As you know, we talk about six different pillars of lifestyle medicine. We talk about nutrition and exercise and social connection, sleep, stress management, avoiding risky behaviors. Uh, so we have a whole separate session on neuroplasticity as well. Our goal is to be a B plus student. Don't get overwhelmed. Trying to do too many things at a time, people end up doing nothing, or at least nothing that's sustainable for a long period of time. So I believe in a slow, simple, meaningful, sustainable changes that goes with the grain of your life. Now, there are different ways of tracking your progress. You can do it via app, but if you're not a tech-savvy person, you can pick up this habit tracker where you write each individual habits that you want to follow and just make a check mark whether you did that habit or not, because habits do stack on top of each other. That's why you have received this brown booklet. You can write down the habits you want to create. You can write down the things that you learned from me. Writing things down has a huge impact. This is a very important slide. This slide talks about what are the risk factors for development of Alzheimer's pathology in the brain. I have a whole session on this. If you have not read about it, please do that. Now, let's start talking about actual exercise. But I want to give you an example that what is normal aging? With the right amount of exercise and right amount of lifestyle interventions, you can live a good, healthy, meaningful life without sickness. So our goal is to expand your health span and not just lifespan. Look at this Dr. Verheem. He was a cardiothoracic surgeon. He did surgeries till his age of 95, like he was a World War II Navy surgeon. He died at the age of 104. He was a Blue Zone pioneer and one of the pioneers of whole food plant-based diet. Now, movement is very crucial. Our brain evolved to move. It's a really big sentence. Why do we move? Why do we have a brain? We have a brain because we move. Like if you look at the species that they don't move, they don't have the kind of the brain we have, right? If you look at the plants and trees, that they don't move in a traditional sense, they don't have a central nervous system that the kind that we have. The more complex movements we make, our brain gets better and better. So movement is very important. I wish the exercise was a pill because it can do so many things. But till we have that pill, which I don't think it will ever happen, but exercise has so many benefits. I cannot tell you how beneficial the exercise is. Exercise can actually boost your brain's immune system. Yes. So our brain has an immune system that gets rid of toxic materials and poisons and stuff like that. When you do exercise, it improves your brain's immune system so it can work better. It can protect your brain more. Exercise works as a fertilizer. So exercise increases the type of chemicals that helps your brain not only grow in number of cells, but actually increase number of connections between brain cells. And yes, exercise can grow new brain cells at any age. Yes, the older you are, harder it is for your brain to come up with the new cells, but it is possible that even in your 90s, some neurogenesis does happen, specifically in the hippocampus and maybe in the olfactory bulb. Hippocampus is a part of the brain that is responsible for short-term memory formation. And there have been studies to prove that people who exercise on a regular basis, they tend to have larger size of the hippocampus. Not only exercise lowers your BMI, but BMI is not a good measure of health anyway. I actually don't even believe in tracking weight, right? You need to have a smart scale that actually tracks your body composition rather than just your total weight. Exercise reduces your anxiety and depression. It actually improves your mental health. There have been research studies where a group of patients got exercise and a drug like a Zoloft or something like that, and another group just got Zoloft. 6 months later, both of them were doing okay. Both the groups were doing okay. But once they stopped the medicines, the group that was doing exercise not only did better longer term uh, quality and quantity wise. So exercise is very important whether you are taking the medicine or not taking medicine for your neurological conditions. Exercise increases myelination. So we have something called myelin. That's a protective sheath around your axons or the nerve fibers, and it makes them stronger. So the brain cells can talk to each other faster and better. You know, they say the neurons or the brain cells that fire together, wire together. Exercise, as you know, is not only good for our brain, but it's actually good for our body as well, right? It reduces your risk of diabetes, hyperpressure, heart attacks. It actually reduces your risk of developing cancers and stuff like that. So there is not a single disease that I can think of that does not benefit from regular exercises. Exercise improves your executive function. I remember growing up in India, like if you're in a school and if you're not paying attention, the teacher will give you punishment of doing squats. So you hold your ears and you squat like this. And now looking backward, I think that that is such an amazing punishment, right? Because children, when they have to do these squats, it increases their blood flow to their prefrontal cortex and improves their attention. So physical activity is a good way to improve your executive function. It actually reduces the beta amyloid in your cerebrospinal fluid. So like when your heart is pumping really hard when you're exercising and sweating and stuff like that, the brain is actually not static. It's actually pulsates. Like I have seen real brain. Like it's not a static organ. It's kind of pulsating like this. So when you're huffing and puffing, imagine your brain is pulsating so much, and that pulsating movements, it's getting rid of all the toxins from your brain, including beta amyloid. So exercise is actually good for your sleep as well. Probably not just before you go to bed, but in general, people who exercises really well, they sleep better. In this modern day and age, we do such a little physical activity that I'm not surprised that why people have sleep problems. We have to have enough physical activity, and our body has to be tired enough to be sleepy. People sit on their couch all day long and then they come and complain that they are not sleeping well, right? Go figure. And sleep is actually also very protective against development of Alzheimer's disease. So there are many other things where exercise is good for you. But just if you don't believe any of these things, take my word for it. I have seen so many benefits of exercise throughout my life, in my own life, as well as in my patients. Now, what I want to show you that what is the outline of our program today. So first, I will teach about how we should do injury prevention or accident prevention. Then I will talk about sedentary life, like how do you come out of sedentary life. Then start out with some simple stretching, then go up to zone 2 exercise, which is a mild endurance training kind of thing. And then you do a little bit moderate intensity exercise. Then you learn to do strength training, balance training, pelvic floor exercises, respiratory training, vasomotor training. We'll talk about interesting concepts of exercise snack. as well as some fancy stuff like what is high intensity interval training, what is isometric exercises, what is a plyometric exercise, how do we do exercises mindfully? Like how can we involve meditation and mindfulness in exercise? And how can we make exercise fun, right? Like just moving monotonous one movement may not be fun for most people. So how can we make exercise fun, like by doing a sport or dance or something like that? But I want you to be careful. Don't start doing crazy things when you are a couch potato, right? It should be slow and steady. It should be a gradual progression, because number one pillar of learning exercise is injury prevention. Many people, when I give them this pumping talk about exercise, they want to do everything right away and they get injured and everything stops in 2 weeks. So learning our limitations are so important. I'm not going to show you many slides for how the muscle system works and stuff like that. But it should be part of your presentation. So on your free time, you can look at those things. We have many different kinds of muscles, smooth muscles and skeletal muscles and stuff like that. But one concept I want you to learn is slow twitch muscle fibers and fast twitch muscle fibers. So in our voluntary muscles or skeletal muscles, we have a slow twitch muscle fibers that cannot generate a lot of force, but they can keep contracting for a long period of time without getting tired. So like if you're walking, you can be walking for a mile and 2 miles and 3 miles, and then you don't get tired. So that is done by those slow twitch muscle fibers. The fast twitch muscle fibers, they can generate a lot of force. Like if you need to lift up something really heavy, it can generate a lot of force, but they get tired very easily. So those are called fast twitch muscle fibers. We need both of them. There is unfortunate misconception that many people, they just do endurance training. So they just keep walking all day long, or next they may do some running or something like that. But strength training helps you with this fast twitch muscle fibers. And that's very important to train them, because what happens, you're walking and your foot get caught on something, and if you're falling, you won't be able to bring yourself back if you haven't trained your fast twitch muscle fibers. Brain and muscles, they talk to each other really well. So if you want to keep your muscles healthy, your brain has to be healthy, and vice versa. Many times when we are training our muscle, it's actually we are training our brain. I will talk a little bit about how you can gain hypertrophy and stuff like that. But for a majority of my patients, their goal is to become strong and be functional rather than just show big muscles. We do know that eccentric contraction can give you a better muscle gain. There is a concept of progressive muscle loading and stuff like that. But let's not jump on focusing on just growing muscles. My goal is to become more functionally useful muscles rather than just muscles to show as muscles. Now, the concept that I was talking about, that the safety first. So if you go from sedentary life to vigorous exercise, that's a recipe for an ER visit. So how can you prevent that injury? So as I mentioned, the muscle loading should be progressive rather than trying to do too much at the same time. You have to break down a movement. So for example, if you're trying to learn to do push-ups, right? And if you are not able to go on the ground and do push-ups, you start out with the wall push-ups. And then you go further down and do that push-ups. And then you do push-up on the counter. And then you do push-up on something that is lower than that, like a safe chair or something like that. And then you do the push-up on the ground. So if you haven't trained yourself and you try to do the push-up on the ground on day one, you damage your rotator cuff and you stop doing the push-ups. So if you try to do a movement and that is hard for you, don't keep pushing it. Break it down, make it simple, and then gradually progress. The second concept is repetitions over increased load. So like many people, they start when they are doing exercise, they start increasing load too fast. So you have to get your reps at least 20-25 to your failure before you start loading. Otherwise, your risk of injury goes up. I know I have a young teenage son, and he wants to get as muscular as possible right away. And they talk about like 1 rep max and stuff like that. The problem is the less number of reps to your fatigue, muscle fatigue, uh, the higher the chances of injury. But if you go more than 40 reps and not even feeling the any kind of strain, then you are just mostly doing endurance training and not a actual resistance training. When you are doing some kind of exercise and if you feel uncomfortable, it's okay, keep going. But if you feel pain, slow down or stop. The concept no pain, no gain is not quite made right. You don't want to be in a severe pain. If you're in a severe pain, your body is telling you don't do something. I always believe in listen to your body when it whispers, otherwise you will hear it scream. Listen to your body when it whispers, otherwise you will hear it scream. I also believe in quality over quantity. So if you can do good quality physical activity, that is better than doing too much of a poor movement, right? Your chances of injury are higher if you are doing the physical activity the wrong way or with the wrong form. That's why in your app, we have this workout section. So if you go under the on-demand tab, under the resources tab, there's a workout section, and we have tons of videos of how to do a particular exercise or activity. I hope you remember my story of don't be a C squared. It's funny, but it is very important story to know. So as you may know, C squared is a bottom, like an ocean a tube-like feeding animal. It's a very primitive life. It's just a tube-like structure. The water goes in the one end, it comes out, and this sea squirt just extract nutrients out of it. So very simple life. When the sea squirt is born, it has a very primitive brain. It has a very primitive trail. So what it does, it floats at the bottom of the ocean floor and finds an area that has a higher concentration of nutrients. And once it finds that area, it just goes and sits on that rock. Once it sits on that rock, the first thing it does is dissolves its brain, and then it dissolves its muscular tail. And you wonder, why the heck will sea squirt do that, right? Like why would sea squirt dissolves its own brain? But think about it. All the species live in a nutritional deficiency state all the time, right? Our current concept of nutritional abundance is very foreign, like it never happened in human evolution or any other species evolution. We always had to struggle to find nutrition. So if you don't have enough nutrition, you always have to save the energy. So you get rid of the things that are the most energy consuming organs, right? So brain in humans, it's only 2 to 3% of our body weight, but it eats up 25% of energy that we eat. Can you imagine? 25% of the energy that we eat gets used up by our brain. So if you are in a nutritional deficiency or scarcity state where you know that the nutrition is not coming, you want to get rid of the thing that you don't use, right? So you first get rid of your brain, and then you get rid of muscles, because muscles also requires a lot of energy to maintain. So guess what happens in humans? You're seeing those people, they retire, they go home, they sit on their couch, and then brain and muscle goes down. And 2 to 3 years, I see them in clinic with 10,000 medical problems. So our body evolved to move. So use it or lose it. Now, sitting isn't new smoking. There was a research study from Australia that each additional hour of television watching on average a year or so significantly increase the risk of mortality. So the longer the time you just have a sedentary life, the higher the chances. And there are a lot of different reasons, right? Most of the time when we are sitting, we are inactive, we are not, our muscles are not contracting, and it's putting unusual pressures on our bones and veins and stuff like that. John F. Kennedy had said a really good quote that we are an under-exercised as a nation. We look instead of play. Like I have had people, they come and tell me that they're really into football. I say, oh wow, you're really into football. It doesn't look like it, but tell me what position you play. I say, I don't play. I just watch football. I'm so into it. So I feel like telling them that you're not into football, you are into watching TV. So so you're confusing two things. Being into football is actually playing the sport and not just merely watching it. Now you occasionally watch a game here and there. That's okay, but then we should still keep in our mind that we are not playing the game. We are just watching it. So we are into watching TV and not into playing a game. We ride instead of walk. Unfortunately, we don't have a easy access to walkable places. So how we create our environment around us has a huge impact on amount of physical activity we get. We have technology physical activity out of our life. We have made things so simple. We have a dishwasher and washer and dryer. Now we have this floor cleaning robots like Roomba and stuff like that. The amount we are doing everything possible to move as less as possible. And evolutionary, that's the goal, right? Because we are always in a survival mode. We are never in a thriving mode. So if you're a caveman, you are in a survival mode. What's the least amount of movement you can do to get as much nutrition as possible, because nutrition is not easily available. So energy is scarce, and you have to conserve as much energy as possible. But now we are cavemen living in this modern world where we have access to abundance of energy and nutrition. And now we are still trying to conserve our physical activity, which is terrible. So we need to think big and see how can we include physical activity as a normal part of the life. When you start doing physical activity, when you go from sedentary to the exercise person, the person who benefits the most is in early on. So like when you go from not doing much to doing little, your gain is a lot more. Like you reach at a point that if you do more and more activity, your gains get less and less and less. But most of us are not reaching that point. Most of us not working out more than 3 hours or 2 to 3 hours a day. So we don't have to worry about loss of gain. So how about practical suggestions? Like how can I avoid sedentary life? If one thing you can do to avoid sedentary life is to minimize your screen time. That screen time can be TV, that screen time can be your phone, that screen time can be your tablet. You may be justifying it that I'm researching it or I need to be there for my work or stuff like that. But minimize your screen time. That's the best way you can improve on your sedentary life. Now at home, what kind of things you can do? So you can try to do as many chores by yourself as possible. Drink lots of water. That will force you to go pee. Like if you have to sit down and watch TV, like somebody forces you that you gotta sit down and watch TV with me, then you can be stretching at the time or paddling or sit on a balance ball, right? Like you don't have to sit on a nice cushiony couch, right? You can be using resistance band or something like that. Or pick up active hobbies, right? Like we're gonna have hobbies instead of having a hobby of just doing Sudoku on a book. You can have a hobby of cooking, right? Or gardening or something like that. That will be so much better for your health. Now, what kind of things we can do in office, right? So if you're lucky enough to have a stand-up desk, you can put a treadmill, like a walking pad underneath your office. Obviously, you should have a stand-up desk with a gradual transition. we can have a walking meetings, right? If you're meeting with 1 or 2 people, why not to just walk outside or somewhere when you're doing meeting? Why not to take stairs everywhere you go and double it up? Like every time you have to go at one time, just take stairs twice, right? Or park your car as far away from your office as possible, so you're forced to walk and not stare at your screen when you're walking from your car to your office. There is a concept of exercise snack. Like we have gotten into a concept of eating food when we are bored. Well, why can't we have a concept of exercise snack? So if I have just 5 minutes and if I want to just get loose, I can just be stretching, right? I can be just be doing like 5 push-ups, or I can be doing 5 squats, or I can just go for a walk, or I can just try to stand on my one leg as long as I can when I'm just talking, right? Um, that can be used as an exercise snack. Now, we gotta learn from our ancestors, right? Like how they moved. So when I say that we have technology, the movement out of our life, just think about how they used to sit, right? They essentially used to squat. Like imagine if you have to squat down and then get up to do something, there are people who normally will do 200 squats a day and not even think about it. They are not thinking about exercising, they are actually thinking about resting in between their activities. So they're just sitting, and when they need to get up, they will have full body get up and do something. Now, what we have done, instead of squatting all the way down to the ground, we sit on a stone or stool, right? That's a little bit worse. But then we sit on a chair, which is light backrest. It's even worse is sitting on a sofa. It's so cushioning, nice. It's even worse is being in a recliner, right? You're just sitting down. All your muscles are so relaxed. It doesn't have to do any work. And then we expect that, oh man, I'm not gaining the muscle mass. Obviously, you're not going to gain muscle mass because we're sitting on that recliner for so long. Carrying things are normal, right? Like we gotta carry things around or bending down to pick things up. That's normal. We don't need to use technology to get the physical movement out of our life. What do you notice in this picture? What I notice in this picture, that everybody is smiling, right? There is an intergenerational communication. Everybody's lean, but they are not muscular. Humans did not evolve like we have this concept that our ancestors were like so muscular. I don't think that is true. Humans have been lean, but not that heavily muscular. Uh, but having an intergenerational communication and having physical activity as a normal part of the life can make a big difference. Now, I have had patients come and tell me that, Doc, I haven't exercised all my life. Like, how can I start, right? Is it even possible to start exercises at a late age years? Yes, it is possible at any age. You may have heard of this person called Diana Nyad. She swam from Cuba to Florida at the age of 65. Yes, she did a 110-mile swim in 52 hours and 54 minutes. And she used to say this thing that one is we should never ever give up. Like we give up so easily. We shouldn't give up. And we are never too old to chase our dreams. Just because you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s does not mean you shouldn't chase your dreams. You know, we gotta fight for our dreams because no age is too old to start something new, specifically exercise. And even solitary seeming sport like swimming, it's a team effort. It's not a solitary sport. So that any person doing exercise, it's not a solitary thing. We have to develop our tribe around us that can help us stick to our decisions. So far what I talked about is making sure not be sedentary. So now we can go on flexibility. So how should you do stretching, right? So you want to think about stretching all the joints in your body. And when you are stretching it, don't stretch into the pain, stretch into relaxation. So when you start stretching and you get to a point where you can't move, take a deep breath, and you are letting your breath out, you can go slightly more. So, but you don't have to do stretching. Yeah, I'm trying to stretch my leg. I'm not sure you can see it or not, but stretching into relaxation is better than stretching into pain. You know, there's some people say no pain, no gain. Not a good idea. Don't stretch too much. Actually, when you're in a lot of pain, your muscle constricts, right? Your muscle doesn't wanna let you get hurt, so it actually contraction gets even harder when you are in pain. So stretch into relaxation. When you're stretching a muscle, stretch it for around 20 seconds or so, and give it a 1 minute break. Before you start stretching, make sure your muscle is a little bit warmed up, right? You can't stretch a muscle that is really, really cold and not used. There are different kinds of stretching. You know, there is a dynamic stretching. Like dynamic stretching is like I'm just moving my leg and going back and forth and trying to push as hard up as I can. So that's dynamic stretching versus static stretching. Static stretching is if I I put my muscle up, and if I just keep it in a hold, that's a static stretch. When we are doing exercises, we should stretch towards the end and probably a little bit towards the beginning. So once you warm up a little bit, then stretch, then do the resistance training, and then cool down, and then stretch, and then relax. Now, there is a big thing about zone 2 cardio. So this is similar to like endurance training. This is what everybody talks about, that, oh, you should walk and stuff like that. So we should aim for around 30 to 45 minutes a day, 4 to 5 days a week. So that should be the goal of some kind of endurance training where your heart rate goes up a little bit, but not too much. But in my mind, this should not be even considered an exercise, right? Like we need to be doing zone 2 cardio just as a part of our life, just as a part of our hobby. Like when you're doing vacuuming, you can be doing the power vacuuming, or when you're walking, you can be doing power walking, things like that. So personally, I don't consider going out for a walk as an exercise. I think that is just part of life, and I'm enjoying the nature rather than I'm going out for an exercise per se. So when you do that, it doesn't become it doesn't become a chore, right? That you don't feel like, oh man, I have to go do the exercise. It's just we are just enjoying life. This can be the playing with children or carrying groceries and stuff like that. If you get a phone call, instead of just sitting taking a phone call, walking and phone call can be a good thing. Now, even that kind of exercise is so beneficial, right? So people they did a very high intensity, high level of physical activity. They had a decrease in their cognitive function, like prevention of decrease in cognitive function by 38%. But even if you did low to moderate intensity exercise, your decrease was 35%. So the aerobic exercise in general is really good for you. But it's not good enough in my mind. So initially, I talked about stretching. So stretching should not be the only exercise you do, right? Like I have had people, they say, "Oh, what do you do as an exercise?" "Oh, I stretch for 1 or 2 hours a day." That was used as a control arm in this study. So stretching is good, but stretching or walking should not be your only exercise. I'm a big believer in resistance training. What is resistance training? Resistance training is where your muscle has to constrict to generate force that is more than what you're usually doing, right? You're lifting something heavy, you're using a stretching band, and it can be just body weight exercises, right? So resistance training is you're putting higher amount of load on your muscle than what your muscle is normally used to. I really like to talk about this Ernestine Shepherd. She's such a great role model. She did not have experience in exercising and working out and stuff like that. she got inspired by her sister's sickness, and she said, I gotta do something different. So she started exercising at the age of 56. Yes, at the age of 56, she started exercising. And by the age of 71, she was already participating in a bodybuilding contest. She's not taking any supplements. In 2024, she was age 87 and still doing exercises. I just saw a patient today, just today. So he was 43. He went to the doctor because he had this disc problem and he was having asthma and stuff like that. And the doctor told him, start exercising. And he actually took it to heart. He started doing strength training. And I saw him at the age of 67. He can still bench press 150 pounds. He was able to do one arm push-up in his, one arm pull-ups in his heydays. And he was so muscular. I was so jealous of him. But so he started in his 40s, and before that he had no experience in exercise. So I believe resistance training is so important. Resistance training does a lot of things that regular endurance training does not do, right? It actually helps you with your fast twitch muscle fibers. It helps you with the explosiveness of the movement. It improves your strength and the size of the muscle. Muscles act like sink for your glucose. Like if you eat some food and if you have a lot of muscles, it will just absorb that sugar up right away. Versus if you're a very frail individual, even if you eat little amount of sugar, it just spikes your sugar. So muscles can be your saving grace when you want to have that one sweet fig or something like that. Now, or a date. I'm not talking about ice cream. I'm talking about more natural sweet stuff. But when you are really strong, and if you're doing resistance training, your risk of fall goes down. You actually increase the white matter tracts in your brain. Your blood vessels health is better. Your inflammation is better. You actually have less pain. Yes, many people come and tell me that, doc, I can't do this exercise because my joint hurts. Well, our joints are made to move. Motion is lotion. So more you move a joint, the healthier it usually stays, except in certain post-surgical situation. But most of the time, the more you move a joint, usually better for you. I would like to tell you about balance exercise. So far we talked about how not to be sedentary, how to do flexibility training, how to do endurance training, how much and how to do endurance training. We talked a little bit about resistance training. And I told you that we have tons of form videos and stuff like that. And the next step is balance training. Because why do people go to nursing home? Frail people go to nursing home usually because they start falling. They fall, break their hip, they go to the hospital, they are not strong enough to go back to their home, and they end up going in a nursing home. So improving your balance is so crucial. It will keep you independent. So you can't just come and tell me in the clinic that, doc, I don't want to go to nursing home. You have to do some work for it. If you just sit on that couch watching TV, you're on a highway to your nursing home. So get moving. So what kind of balance exercises we can do? You can start out with simple things, right? Standing on one leg, doing one foot in front of other walks, or standing on one leg and then try to write with the tip of your toe and stuff like that. And we have this videos in under your resource folder or different grades of balance training. You can push yourself, depends upon what's your capacity, right? Like you can't start pushing yourself till you're ready, but you can do like this front lunges or back lunges and stuff like that. You can even make it harder by standing on a pillow. Obviously, don't do that if your body is not ready. You don't want to fall and get hurt. But you have to rise up to that point where you are doing all these things like calf raises and toe raises and knee raises and all those things on a pillow or even two pillows, you can get to an athlete stage. So I have a video in your app about how athletes train for balance, right? Now, if you're a couch potato, you cannot do the athlete balance training. You have to graduate to it. Now I'm going to talk about a little bit trickier parts of exercise that does not apply to everybody. This is for people who are already doing good amount of exercise, right? This is for people who are already going to the gym. So this information is for those people. So there is thing called high intensity interval training, where you are doing a lower intensity exercise, and in between you're doing significantly higher intensity and then lowering down. So changing in the intensity of exercise can be very helpful. Isometric training is also very helpful. Isometric training means that you make the muscle contract without making it move. So like the plank is a type of isometric training, or wall sets and stuff like that. So when you are doing isometric training, your brain gets the benefit of 1 rep max, right? Because you are in a fixed position, your muscle is contracting, but you're not moving. So it gives a signal to the muscle that I'm contracting, but I'm not moving. So I need to get much, much better because I need to move. So isometric exercise can be a potent stimulator for muscle growth. There is also a thing called plyometric training. I didn't talk about it. Plyometric training is where you are doing sprinting or jumping or something like that. Those things are important. You need to have those explosive muscle fibers that make you jump as high as you can. So plyometric exercises are very good. But the thing is, the higher up you go in this pyramid, higher the chances of injury, right? So you can't start there. You have to do the basic things first. There are also lots of functional exercises, like this is a really good channel, Yoga with Adrian. There are tons of other good yoga channels online. And there is also a good amount of Tai Chi. So in your app, you would have gotten those tasks about resources on Tai Chi and yoga and stuff like that. But one thing I feel like it is quite missing in many exercises is mindfulness. Because many people, when they are exercising, they are not paying attention to their movement. They are distracted. They are either watching TV and they are just mindlessly walking, or they are listening to something, some podcast, including myself. I've done that many times. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm just mechanically doing it. Humans didn't evolve to mechanically just do these things, right? Like which other species goes to the gym? Nobody goes to the gym and they are still muscular. Like if you look at the horse or bison or gorilla, they're highly muscular animals. By the way, they all eat just grass. They are highly muscular animals, but they are not going to the gym. So our concept that we have to go to the gym to get muscular, that's probably some question to that. But I do believe that if we are involved into thinking about the movement that we are making, we may get better gains. So the previously I was talking about that other species don't go to the gym. So we humans move for two and two reasons. One out of necessity and other out of fun. So if that's the reason we are moving, we are much more likely to get benefit. So sports and dance are a good way to create movement. Like if you are volunteering to do heavy chores for your faith community or your neighbors or your friends or family, that is you get a good deed done. You get that social satisfaction for it. You help somebody and you get physical activity. So you can get so many things done rather than just going to the gym and mechanically lifting weight. That's good, but if you are lifting boxes to help somebody, you are getting the same amount of physical activity, but it has a lot of meaning and purpose behind it. Now, I get told people that, hey doc, I don't like to exercise. I'm just gonna play sport. And I think that's a great idea. Sport is a very good way to be physically active. The downside is people don't prepare themselves for it and they get injured. So whatever sport you want to start playing, you have to do that sport specific exercises. So just YouTube it that I want to play ping pong. What exercises do I do? So for example, I'm going to be throwing a ball. So what kind of exercises I need to do to get my rotator cuff ready to throw a ball, things like that. Now, we're going to shift gears and I'm going to talk about pelvic floor exercises. And you're thinking, why the heck we need to worry about pelvic floor, right? But imagine many people, when they get older, they cannot control their pelvic floor. So these are the group of muscles that are near your area where you urinate or defecate. And if you can't control that, and if you are leaking, you can't go out, you can't do the things you want to do. So before it happens, we're gonna start training our pelvic floor. So we have a video on how to train the pelvic floor. So I'll do quick this exercise. So you can feel it by squeezing or as if you're gonna hold your pee or your defecation. So first you take a deep breath, and when you let out, that's when you pull those organs back. So take a deep breath, let out. And when you're at the end of exhalation, you pull those organs back up and count till 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. So it's similar to Kegel's exercises, but pelvic floor exercises, very important. As we have pelvic floor muscles, we actually have respiratory muscles, like our breathing muscles. So there are many different types of breathing exercises or pranayama exercises that you can do to strengthen up your diaphragm. But we also have muscles around our blood vessels that constrict and dilate to let the more or less blood flow to a particular organ. So when you expose yourself to cold, there are a lot of different things happens in our body to maintain that blood flow to a particular area. So it's very important to do some kind of training, what we call as a vasomotor training. Now, I'm not asking you to do the ice baths or Arctic swimming or polar jumps. That's not what you want to start. You want to start with something simple, like when you, after you're done taking a shower, instead of just keeping the water all the way to the warm, make it cold and shiver a little bit and make it warm and go back and forth. Once you train yourself really well, you can go to the next step of starting out shower with the pure cold water. That's hard. That makes you shiver. That makes you uncomfortable, but that's good. Anything that makes you really uncomfortable but doesn't kill you or doesn't harm you really bad makes you stronger, right? So, so you want to do this gradually and slowly, right? You can go out in a cold with less amount of clothes on or playing some kind of winter sports or something like that. But again, do these things very slowly and gradually. Like I've done this face plunges. So like you just have really cold water and you just plunge your face into the water, and it's hard, but after some time it feels good. That you overcome that. Same as sauna, right? There is some research evidence that sauna bathing is good for you. But I just wanna remind you again that exercise should happen in a slow progression. Don't try to do things too fast. So in a nutshell, what kind of things I would like you to do? So I would like you to do 30 to 45 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per day, 4 to 5 days a week. You want to make sure you are doing some kind of balance exercises at least 2 to 3 times a week. You're doing some kind of muscle strengthening exercises around 20 to 25 minutes twice a week or so. I'm not a big fan of doing really vigorous, intense exercises. People are much more likely to get injured with that. So I usually stick with other things. And you will be thinking, hey doc, you are telling me to do all these things. Where I'm gonna find time, right? My life is already so busy. Well, I have a very simple suggestion. If you get rid of the screen, like watching TV or getting rid of being on your phone, you will have tons of time. You won't know what to do with your time. So I know it's harsh, but make it zero and see if you can, right? There are some essential parts we have to do, but if you can minimize, if you can come up with a digital minimalism, you'll find tons of time to do all these exercises in your life. Now, if you read the other recommendations, they will be much less. Like what I'm asking you to do is a lot more than most other guidelines you'll read, because most of the guidelines are trying to find what's the bare minimum you have to do, versus what I'm trying to come up with is what's the optimal you can do, right? So bare minimum is different than the optimal, and you want to push that boundary, and that's how you can live a really long life with really good health when you're feeling energetic and happy and all those things. So how do you actually make it happen, right? Like knowledge has to be translated into action. Like how do you translate that knowledge into action? So you have to come up with the SMART goals. So our goals has to be simple and specific. They have to be measurable. They have to be attainable. They have to be relevant. They will be time bound. So for example, I'll give you some examples of SMART goals. Instead of just saying that I'm going to exercise regularly, it should be like, I will park at the back of every parking lot this week and I'll walk at that time. Or it can be that I will use bike 3 times a week for 30 minutes. Or if your life is really sedentary, I will get up those wheels, I'll put it in front of my arm, and when I'm watching TV, I'll be paddling that for at least 30 to 45 minutes a day, next 3 to 4 days. So SMART goals can help you go from wherever you are to go up. And the only person you should compare yourself to is yourself, right? Don't look at others, like you always be unhappy. So compare yourself to yourself. Are you better than who you were yesterday or a week before or a year ago? Then yes, then you did your job. Don't focus on results. Unfortunately, people get so hyper focused on weight loss and a result. But I tell people that weight loss and stuff like that, if it happens, that's a byproduct. That's not your goal. My goal is to be healthy and do all the right things and enjoy life. If those things happen, it's well and good. If it doesn't happen, then I will still keep doing my thing. At the end of each session, I always like to talk about this. So what I would like you to do is to stand up wherever you are, if possible, stand up and repeat after me. Exercise is my weapon, and I will beat Alzheimer's disease. Now say it as you mean it, like say it out loud. You can say it with me. Exercise is my weapon, and I will beat Alzheimer's disease. Thank you. Thanks for attending this session. We also do these sessions in person, so you are welcome. If you're only signed up for a virtual session, you're still welcome to come in person.